Hey everybody over at movies.com, it's the Schmoes No Movie Show. I'm Christian.
And I am Mark, and you cannot hide the excitement in your voice, Christian. The sun may be setting on another Comic-Con, but man, we have some cool news stories to talk about.
Mark, how jealous are you of me normally?
It's never happened. Maybe once.
How about today?
This is number 2.
That is right. We're going to be going over our top 5 news stories of Comic-Con 2013.
He got to see some really cool stuff that he just told me today. I can't wait to tell you guys. Before we get to the news stories, let's bring in another resident expert over at movies.com. The one, the only, the Flash himself, Mr. Erik Davis.
Movies.com, Fandango.
Yes.
Eric, all right, so we got to experience some cool stories over the weekend here at Comic-Con.
We did.
And we're going to break it down right now.
Let's go.
Coming in at number 5, I really wanted it to be a giant lizard, but judging by the logo on that man's shirt, it's not going to fly.
No, it is not, because why? What happened? Warner Brothers, they announced a Flash movie coming out in 2016, and then Justice League 2017. Eric, how are we feeling about this?
Yeah, you know, it's the smartest thing to do because they take Batman and Superman, they're 2 giant franchises, they put them in a movie, and then instead of having a whole team around them, they kind of introduce the Flash, and then that goes to a Justice League movie. So I think it's the smartest way. It definitely, it shows them that they're not doing what Marvel is doing.
You know, I can tell Eric's a great storyteller because he already foreshadowed another story on this list, but right now, let's head to number 4.
We are going to be doing a Marvel story, and not the last time a Marvel story winds up on this list. I'll tell you that right now. How about Guardians of the Galaxy? Not only did they show up all of the cast,
yeah.
What did they do? They showed footage with 2 weeks of filming. How did they do this?
You can tell you guys were in the Marvel panel and I missed it. So Eric, tell them what we saw.
You know, it was awesome. They just had this, the crowd was giddy. To be honest with you, it reminded me of like Star Wars meets the A-Team.
Yeah,
wow.
It was just awesome footage. And I think it's going to be Marvel's funniest movie too, because it had a lot of humor, but a lot of action too.
And I agree with that, and not a funny in a way of like a Transformers goofy over the top, like almost like what Iron Man does for the Avengers. That's what I liked about it. But what do we get to see? Who? The raccoon. And the raccoon looks cool, and he spit on the floor.
And Benicio del Toro is definitely going to be in the film as well. So look, there's a lot to look forward to with Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't wait to see the footage that these animals have already checked out.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah.
What's number 3?
Something else I noticed. Where was I today? X-Men, Days of Future Past. Not only was the full cast at the panel for Marvel, they showed footage.
Oh, and did they show great footage. Look, I'm an X-Men fan, and I was back on board with X-Men First Class. But my God, this thing looks like an Avengers competitor.
Okay, now Eric, regardless of where you thought First Class ranked, I think most people had it pretty high. Where can we expect Days of Future Past to go from there?
Well, I mean, it just looked awesome, and they brought out literally every person that's ever been in like an X-Men movie.
Yep.
And you know what? I was just glad to see the old X-Men back on the big screen, and it looks gritty, it looks grim, it looks like Bryan Singer has kind of evolved his directing style to catch up with like the Dark Knight era of comic book movies.
And you know what I think he's done? I think that he has taken, because he was involved in First Class. I think he realized the audience reaction to First Class, and that is why like the First Class sat to his right, the other X-Men sat to his left of Old School, and you can tell these people know they have something special, and the footage proved it.
Marvel is running on their own momentum right now because they got the Wolverine movie coming out soon, and that bleeds right into X-Men. So very exciting. That's a good number 3. Hopefully number 2 is something that I at least witnessed.
Fantastic stuff so far, but number 2 is pretty big. Mark, what do we got?
We're getting to the good stuff, and it is a number 2, The Avengers Part 2. The title is The Age of Ultron. Eric, what does that mean?
Yeah, Ultron is and people freaked out for this. Ultron is like an indestructible character. People compare it to Iron Man, but like a massive Iron Man. Wow. He's crafted out of like the same stuff that like Wolverine is made of. So like you can't beat him. You can't destroy him.
Look at how excited Eric is.
I love it.
So it's definitely a formidable enemy for the Avengers to fight because they don't even. How do you fight something you can't beat?
Hey, I work with that every day.
What was so great about this, how we got the title, Joss Whedon himself came out on the stage, showed a little featurette, you saw like the Iron Man, you hear all the Avengers voices, and then boom, the title. Oh, it's so great, and people are going to be buzzing about it all over the internet.
Well, what could possibly top that? Coming in at number 1, 2 of the greatest superheroes of all time. I'm here with my 2 good buddies. I'll let you guys talk about it.
That's right. 2 big superheroes. How about Man of Steel and Batman in the same movie? What a way to do this. I know you're excited. You had mentioned earlier about the fact that I think DC is on the right path here in doing this.
Yeah, I just think it's a smart idea. The big question is, does Christian Bale play Batman? You know, at this point, you kind of got to throw the bank at him and bring him back and have him and Henry Cavill and just go for it.
Back up that truck.
I think that they said that it wasn't Bale. I think that was said so far. I don't know. It's rumored that it's not confirmed.
But here's what we do know is that there's going to be an appearance by Batman in the Man of Steel 2, and in the comics, the story they might follow is that they weren't always the best of friends.
That was the way that they announced this, which I read from Frank Miller's classic novel, The Dark Knight Returns, and he basically, it was Clark Kent calling out Superman saying, Bruce Wayne calling out Superman and saying, I'm the guy that wrapped my hands around your neck. Remember that, Supes. All right, now there are a lot of honorable mentions. I mean, I could have went Planet of the Apes for something that was really cool, but what I'm going to go with, Loki himself came out, gave a big speech, and introed footage for Thor, and that was pretty exciting.
And rumor has it he had Hall H in the palm of his hand when he was giving that speech. Eric, how about you?
You know, the way they opened up the Captain America, the Winter Soldier footage was this awesome elevator fight sequence that reminded me of the sequence from Die Hard 3 times 50. And it was just awesome.
You know, maybe I'm still on a Pacific Rim kick, but I got to give it to the big guy himself, Godzilla. Legendary Pictures, they had some Godzilla footage. It's been Godzilla crazy here. He's been all over the place in downtown San Diego. I'm surprised any of these buildings are still standing.
What we know is that Comic-Con is a great place to be a movie lover. Great stories. Eric, thank you for joining us and breaking down your stories as well.
It's always nice to have some intelligence on these lists occasionally. That is Christian. I am Mark. Eric, thanks for hanging out with us. The sun is going down on Comic-Con 2013.
What a great time we had.
From everything we learned today, 2014 is going to be quite a year at the movies. We are the Schmoes, and we'll see you soon on Movies.com.